Hey, it's Josiah Novak, and welcome to the True Transformation Podcast, the top fitness podcast for men who want to get ripped, naturally boost testosterone levels, and use fitness as a tool to not only look and feel better, but improve all areas of life in the process. Welcome to the show. Buckle up. Life moves fast. Let's make it count. Today's episode is how to naturally increase your testosterone. So this podcast is really for those guys out there who might be feeling lethargic, run down, have a hard time losing fat, and overall just feel kind of foggy every day. It could be an issue with your testosterone. Obviously, my recommendation is number one, get blood work done, figure out how much testosterone and free testosterone you have in your body. That's the first step. So get that done. And then number two, start to do things that can naturally improve your overall testosterone. And we're going to talk about that. And here's the good news. For anybody out there who's listening, ladies, if you're listening and you're like, I don't care about testosterone, the tips I'm going to give you today are going to help with overall health and fitness, period. Okay. But they're things that I recommend for most people. It just happens to influence your hormones in a positive way. So before we go any further, my name is Josiah Novak, owner of the TrueTransformation.com. You can grab our free Look Good Naked guide over at lookgoodnaked.co if you're looking to get started on a plan that not only makes you look, feel, and perform better, but improves all areas of your life. Because let's face it, health and fitness is going to leak into every part of your life. So I appreciate you being here and checking out the show. If this is your first time, welcome aboard. And we'd love for you to stay. So make sure you subscribe to the show, leave us a rating and review if you enjoy it. And we're going to hop right into today's episode, which is all about testosterone. So let's talk about the dietary tips that I have for you today. First and foremost, alcohol. Now, I think most of you probably would agree that heavy drinking is terrible for you, period. Right? There isn't any upside to binge drinking. There are some studies out there that show that continuous drinking, very consistent drinking, reduces testosterone and increases estrogen in men. So if you drink, my suggestion is to keep it moderate. 1 to 2 drinks, or if you're, thinking about drinking for an event that's going on all day, I would suggest a couple hard alcohol drinks, liquor, instead of drinking, 10 to 12 beers. Stick to the clear liquors, all right? A couple things of tequila or vodka, those are going to be your best bets. Lower calories, still going to get that alcohol buzz that you're probably looking for, but you're not going to add a ton from beer and, whatnot, and hard, dark colored liquors. So that's tip number one. We're going to fly through a bunch of tips for you today, but cut out unnecessary drinking. Number two, let's reduce sugar intake, okay? Especially from processed sugar. Now, not all sugar is created equal. If you have sugar from fruit, that is fructose, some sugar from fruit every day is totally fine. Your body is naturally going to take any carbs that you bring into the body and break it down into sugar to use as fuel. But large amounts of processed sugar is going to improve basically nothing. So all you're really going to start to see is insulin sensitivity start to get jacked up, more inflammation, increased cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and just not having the ability to tolerate glucose, right, which is sugar. Try, if possible, to get your sugar from natural sources. So some fruit every day is fine. Keep your carbohydrates moderate, unless you're training extremely hard and you're extremely active. I would keep carbs moderate. I wouldn't go crazy with carbs, especially if you're not lean. But overall, just reduce the processed sugar that you take in. Which leads me to tip number three. Match your carb intake to activity levels. Carbs are definitely necessary for testosterone production. You need them. There's been studies that show testosterone decline with low carb diets. But it's important to make sure that you're not overdoing carbs and living a sedentary life, meaning you're not moving, you're not training. Try to get most of your carbs from things like potatoes, whole grains, and veggies, and then a little bit of fruit. Obviously, that's going to improve the amount of nutrients in your diet, which leads to better health. And it's going to be hard to overeat veggies and fruit and potatoes. It's just, they're very nutrient-dense foods. They don't have a ton of calories. So keep your carbs in line with your activity levels. Tip number 4 is make sure you get enough protein. My recommendation for most people is around a gram per pound of body weight, or pound of goal body weight. So recommend about a gram per pound of goal body weight. So if you currently weigh 250 and you're like, yeah, I need to drop about 40 pounds, getting somewhere between 200 to 210 grams of protein per day is plenty. You could probably even be under that and be totally fine. But just make sure you're getting sufficient protein. At the end of the day, that's going to help with recovery, building muscle, and overall testosterone production. So all those things correlate with adequate amounts of testosterone in your body. All right, next tip. Let's make sure you're eating healthy fats. Do not fall victim to the low-fat diets. All right, low-fat diets definitely decrease testosterone levels. Now, you don't need to go crazy with fats. I'm not saying eat all the fats and just pile on the calories, but try to get most of your fats from healthy sources like chicken thighs, great source, eggs, beef, organic grass-fed beef, little coconut oil, olive oil, and grass-fed butter. Be careful with consuming nuts. Not to say they're not great for you, but it's just so easy to overeat. Things like avocado could be cool, but just make sure you're getting enough healthy fats. Salmon is another one. I love salmon. Make sure you get plenty of fats in your diet, but just be careful with the calories, right? Watch your calories. Calories do count. Next tip, supplement with vitamin D. Most people are vitamin D deficient, and it definitely contributes to lower testosterone levels. So vitamin D is fat soluble, meaning it is best absorbed with fat. All right, so try to consume your fat source along with your vitamin D supplement. 2,000 to 5,000 IUs a day is really where I like to hang out. Sometimes I'll do every other day, and I'll supplement with 10,000 IUs every other day. Okay. Add to the vitamin D with magnesium. This is the next tip. Magnesium has been touted as a test booster, but the evidence just really isn't complete. What most people can agree on is that many people at least, are deficient in magnesium, and that deficiency can have some serious side effects on exercise performance, your energy, mood, and other things that relate to your metabolism. It's not as popular to talk about magnesium deficiency as like things like vitamin D, right? So there has been some signs that magnesium deficiency correlates with testosterone levels being adversely affected. So I know, based off of working with thousands of people over the years, that when people get enough magnesium, often through supplementation, they report back that they feel more energetic and their sex drive goes up. So just be aware of that. I recommend making sure you just check with your doctor, get blood work done, make sure you have everything lined up with where it needs to be. But don't be afraid to supplement with magnesium and vitamin D. All right. Next little tip here. Let's go to the training side. Lift weights, people. Like, seriously, stop being afraid of lifting weights. Now, this does not mean you need to be a bodybuilder, but being strong and muscular, or having more strength and more muscle than you currently have, leads to increased testosterone levels. So if you're a guy who's like, man, I just don't feel like I have the libido, I don't feel like I have that manly feeling, start training. I mean, this can change your life, to be honest with you. It leads to more self-confidence, metabolic health, just everything improves, how you move, how you feel, how you wake up in the morning. Quality of life gets better when you train, okay? Lift weights or use your body weight or do exercise bands, but get resistance in your training program. This is super, super important. In all of our programs, we teach you how to lift weights or how to train with your body weight effectively to build more muscle and lose fat. The next step, lose body fat. All right. So as you're building muscle, we need to also remember that it's not just about getting massive. It's about, in fact, I would never recommend getting massive, but as you're building muscle, you also want to be careful that you're not adding a bunch of body fat. And when in reality, you need to be getting to a healthy level of body fat. For guys, this is somewhere between 10% and 15%. And for women, it's around 16 to 25%. Just be conscious of how much body fat you're carrying. Get leaner, control your calories, move more. Make sure the ratio of muscle to fat is appropriate. Which leads me to the next tip. Improve your body weight strength, okay? This is actually a great way to assess whether or not you're building muscle and losing fat, because as you lose fat, obviously that's pounds coming off. You're going to add some muscle, but more than likely you're going to add muscle a lot slower than you lose fat. So you'll start to notice that body weight training becomes easier because you're carrying more muscle, but you're also losing all that unwanted weight. So push-ups, dips, chin-ups, pull-ups, lunges, squats should all be getting easier as you're building muscle and losing fat.
Thanks for listening to the True Transformation podcast.
Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Come back next time.